Let's crack open this box of brakes. I've already loosened up the bolts before we jack the car up. Alrighty then, so with the wheel off on this side, we can now see the old rotor and the old caliper, and inside that caliper are the old pads. Interestingly enough, we've got a leaf in there. I wonder if that has been the cause of some of the noise that's made us think that the pads need to be replaced. We did the other side already, and the pads weren't really super bad. They were thin, but not as thin as we expected them to be. Either way, we're gonna keep on replacing them. We've got the parts, might as well. These rotors aren't too bad either. They don't have any big scoring problems or anything like that. But once again, we've got new rotors. We might as well put them on. Basically, to do this next bit, you're gonna look on the back of your caliper. You'll see these two bolts. Those are what you need to take off next, and those are both a 14. Alrighty, now with that piece of the caliper off, as you guys can see, I've hung it on the strut so that you cannot, so that it isn't hanging by the line. You don't want to let it hang by the line, you want to have it resting on something, and that's the most secure spot to have it right now that I can think of. Maybe there's a better spot, if so you guys are welcome to share it in the comments. Looking at these pads, these are a lot thinner than the pads on the other side were, and that leaf has also been super jammed in there. Let's go ahead and get these pads out though. That came out quickly. This pad's really interesting. If you guys look here, there's a lot of uneven pad wear. Not really sure what could have caused that. That's not ideal though for your pad to be wearing like that. You don't want that. So I'm very perplexed by how this happened. Not really sure what's going on, but this one definitely needed to be replaced. That's really not okay. In comparison, let me show you guys what the other side looked like. This is the other pad from that same side. Once again, you see that weird uneven pad wear there, with this side being so much thinner than this side. But let me grab the pads from the other side of the vehicle so we can compare. All right, these are the pads that were on the other side of the vehicle. As you guys can see, they're not perfect either, but they are quite a bit thicker than the ones that we just pulled off. Either way, it's good to be replacing them. So next, we're gonna have to take off this caliper bracket right here. Alrighty then guys, so as you saw, we went ahead and took off the old rotor, and if you look right here, these are the new rotors that we got. They're from Power Swap. They're not like a super fancy stuff, but they are geomet coated to prevent rusting, just because it was like an extra $2, and why not? If it does something great, if not, it's $2. I don't know if Power Swap is a super great brand, but this car is getting up there in miles, and so as you guys know, Toyota OEM stuff is quite expensive, and so we figured that's... So we're gonna go ahead and put this on. There's not really anything super fancy that I'm aware of for putting the rotor on. We do clean both sides with brake cleaner, just cause with the coating, I'm not sure if that's normal, but with a lot of brakes, a lot of brake rotors come from the manufacturer with a light coating of grease to prevent them rusting in shipping. Obviously these are coated to prevent rusting, so I don't know if they do that, but just to be safe, we did go ahead and clean the other one with brake cleaner, and we're gonna do the same one with this, just a little light spray on a rag and then wiping it down with that rag. Next on the to-do list is taking this old hardware off of the caliper bracket and replacing it with the new stuff that came with the new set of brakes. Then we'll put the caliper bracket back on, torque it down, the official torque spec on these bolts, which are 17 millimeters, forgot to mention that before. 17 mil bolts, and the torque spec on them is 79 foot-pounds of torque, so we're gonna torque them down with the new hardware in, and then we'll put in the new pads. All right, I've got the pads greased up. As you guys can see, there's some grease that's coming out of the outsides of this pad here. Obviously, we haven't put the actual caliper bracket on yet, so we need to do that too.
Lavito on the beat.
So just make sure they're going the right direction relative to the rotor. So one thing we do to make this part easier, so we don't have the clamp slipping off of the actual calipers, we put one of the old pads in, and then just like that, so that we can push in the piston. And there we go. So now I'm going to take the caliper, slide it over the pads, can push in the parts in the bracket that it fits over, and there we go. I think that looks pretty good. Caliper bolts, which now have grease on them that I've gotten on my gloves. Hand tighten those. Once it starts getting hard to turn with my hand, I'll go and grab my 14 again. Tighten them until they're decently snug with the 14. And then I'll grab the torque wrench and torque them to 25 on these. Alrighty, so with that, the brakes are now fully reassembled. We can put the wheel back on, and then we can do the break-in process. And so it's really important that you do that break-in procedure. That makes sure that your rotors and your pads in an effective way, and that'll make it so that your rotors don't warp and they're good at stopping your car for their full lifetime. So when you are pushing the calipers in with the piston, like we showed, or the clamp, your master cylinder is going to have a rise in fluid level, so you might want to have somebody watching it in case it's been overfilled, because as you can see, it is right at the max line now, because all the pressure has been pushed back up to the master cylinder from the system. So that's something to be aware of, something you should probably keep a watch on that we could have done a better job of doing. So first thing you want to do is you're going to want to pump your brake pedal. My dad knows this, I'm just saying this for you guys, because you want to make sure that you get pressure back, so you want to do that until it feels normal again. Does that feel normal?
Yep. We went to the floor the first couple times.
It did, yes, and that's what would have happened if we'd been driving, is you would have pressed the brakes all the way in and nothing would have happened. So we're just going to do it in the neighborhood, go up to 30 and then slow down to 5, coast at 5 for 30 seconds, and then repeat that 4 more times.